breaking news. A man named Randy Farrell has been charged by the federal government. This is a fluid situation. We are getting information as it comes in right now. We know that one of the crimes is wire fraud. I'm looking at it as it comes in right now. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He's an inspector who does business in the city of New Orleans and has ties to City Hall and Mayor LaToya Cantrell. Let's get live to Cassie Sherm. She is live at the courthouse as this information and the charging documents are dropping right now, Cassie.
That's right. So Aubrey Killing, one of our investigative reporters, is in there right now. He's actually getting those documents printed out as we speak. We're being told about 20 pages in these charging documents, which is a pretty hefty thing we have to go through real quick. But we do know that one of the charges there is wire fraud and honest service fraud. Now, we're still waiting for what the rest are. So there is 20 pages again in that document. But yeah, you're right, Travers. He did have very deep ties when it came to the safety and permits department here in New Orleans. He worked with the city, multiple different contracts as well as services. And we actually read the emails where at the end, he was actually being looked at by one of the Office of Inspector General's employees, looking to see if there was any foul play or anything that was going wrong or missed his time working for the city of New Orleans. We do have those documents, but it's just coming in. Actually, let me read this real quick here. It says, let's see, the purpose of executing, I'm going to zoom into this a little bit. Wire fraud, purchase of New Orleans Saints football tickets costing $1,160 from Farrell's Chase account. That is one of the counts right there. Another one is purchase of college football national championship tickets costing $3,619 from Farrell's Chase account. And that's for public official 2. We don't know who public official 2 is just yet. I'm looking in here to see if it has any more details on this as we speak. As soon as we get those documents in hand, we'll be able to dive a little bit deeper into that. But it looks like possible count 24 and 25. They are regarding the wire, and we're getting more Travers as we speak. So let me go right through this real quick. He performed third-party inspections around 2014. He maintained that registration. Let's see. Public employee and a person of public authority. He's a person, okay. Public official 2 was a public official employed by the city of New Orleans, reported directly to public official 1. Now, public official 2 supervised safety and permits through from a supervisor. So she was underneath that supervisor. So whoever public official 2 is, that's who they are claiming purchased New Orleans Saints football tickets for. That costed, again, around $1,160, and college football tickets. Now, we're going to continue to keep following this closely, but Travers, I'm going to send it back to you for right now.
Yeah, Cassie, stand by. We have Karen Carvin on set, but there is 2 officials named here that we see so far, public official 1 and public official 2. Public official 1, it says, was a public official employed by the city of New Orleans. It says that public official 1 was a public employee and in a position of public authority. As to those terms, public official 2 was a public official employed by the city of New Orleans. So it's not listing people by names. As soon as you get all the documents, Cassie, we're coming back to you and Aubrey. Let's talk to Karen Carvin here. We don't know yet who public official 1 or 2 is. That's something new. In the Vappie indictment, the mayor was listed as public official 1. They list a person as public official 1 and public official 2 that may have taken things of value. Getting back to our initial topic here, when public officials, while not named by name but listed in title like that, are listed in a federal document politically, it's kind of bombshell.
It is. It totally. I think this is a big story. There's going to be a lot more detail once all the lawyers have a chance to, look at the indictment and give you their opinions on it. But from a political perspective, it's absolutely not good. I mean, it's likely that public official 1 is the mayor. That's who it was in the Vappie indictment. It's very likely that it is. That's not a good thing, obviously, from any perspective. And we don't know who public official 2 is, but we do know from that it sounds like it's someone in the administration.
And they're saying they took sporting tickets. Is at least what we're seeing here. And like we want to brief you that we are getting this in real time. It is getting dropped right now at the federal court system and on their Pacer online system. So, but it does appear that Farrell's charges will relate to people at City Hall, whether that be the mayor, anybody in her orbit, or anybody who you would assume is in a position of power as they lay out who is essentially taking something of value for what appears to be, from what we're seeing so far, a quid pro quo in some sense.
And that's what we had heard prior to this dropping today, that there had been talk about that might be what would come down, you know. So this is just really confirmation of what a lot of chatter, political chatter especially, and in the media chatter has been as to what might happen.
Let me ask you this, Karen, not to cut you off. And look, you handled campaigns. I just want to brief people on this. You've worked for numerous mayors, and you ran Cantrell's successful 2017 upset campaign. I call it that because most people are ready to anoint the other candidate in the race. When you look at a political strategy here, not that you're advising the mayor,
No,
what
I'm
would
not.
be a political strategy here for her? Is it to come out and say, hey, I didn't do anything. I'm going to fight this if I'm even implicated in this. I mean, look, her stance politically has been, don't see anything about the federal charges since the VAPI indictment, where she was listed as public official 1. What would your advice be to a public official if there is an investigation, which there clearly is at City Hall, and they are listing public official 1 and public official 2 in a federal felony document?
Right. Well, I think, you know, it's very important. You know, I think there's a desire on the part of a lot of people to just kind of want to hide and not have to deal with it and say no comment. My personal philosophy, and I advise my clients, that no comment is about the worst thing you can ever say to the media. You need to have a response. People care and are interested in this and what's going on, and they're concerned about, you know, is our mayor of the city of New Orleans about to be indicted? And if so, what does that mean for the city? What does that mean for the future? So I think it's important that she address it. Now, if her lawyer is in the process of talking to the feds or whatever, and he is advising her as her attorney not to say anything, then she needs to listen to her attorney.
Yeah, and look, this is all speculation. Mayor Cantrell, we want to preface this, has not been accused or charged of any crimes. Her attorney, Eddie Castaigne, is one of the seasoned pros in this area. He has handled high-profile cases before, including the first NBC case, the case involving Chris Roberts, who has passed away, a former Jefferson Parish councilman. So he is well-versed at this. Don't go far. Stay right here. We want you to respond. Let's go back live to Cassie and Aubrey. They have all the documents there outside the federal court. They're reading them as we just got them live. Karen, we may want you to react to what they're going to say here. But Cassie, Aubrey, what did you guys find in these documents?
Yeah, Travers, Aubrey just came in with the documents, obviously 20 pages of documents, so we've just been going through and digging through them.
Hey, so Cassie, so just moments ago we did get the copy of the indictment right here. We are going through it live on air. Cassie, one section that we are going through right now, it says on or about January 16th of 2019, Farrell purchased tickets for public official 1 to attend the New Orleans Saints NFC championship game. When Farrell asked businessman 1 how many tickets Farrell needed to buy, businessman 1 responded that Farrell needed to purchase 7 tickets for public official 1's family for chief of staff. So again, these documents, we're just getting them in real time. It also says in total, Farrell sent businessman 1 17 tickets to the game for public official 1, and others purchased for a total of approximately $5,919. And public official 1 does appear to possibly be Mayor Cantrell, possibly. We are still going through it as we speak.
It's really interesting, too, in these documents here. It's talking about going through cell phone records, and it showed that Farrell had warned businessman 1, warned Farrell that I don't want to say too much in the phone. I mean, that right there, you're kind of hearing they're trying to hide something.
You bring up a good point, Cassie, and it also says, businessman 1 continued, you know what my objective is, and you know what my most important person is. You're my intention to make my hero. You are going to be very okay, Farrell responded. Quote, we got it. So some of those portions are in quotes. Again, this is for the NFC championship game in that case. And then businessman 1 responding, I'm working very hard to keep my brother one day in good standing with everything. So again, we just got these documents seconds ago. We're going through them page by page. And then public official 1 also states, or is also mentioned there, Cassie, it shows, if you want to stretch out that date on or about of 2019, I instructed a supervisor to convene a meeting of safety and permit inspections and building officials And Cassie, walk us through kind of what you've been hearing throughout the
Yeah,
the courthouse.
I mean, the thing is, people have just been curious on what could possibly be coming from this. And some of the things that are on here, we were just reading really quickly. We have steakhouse receipts and stuff like that are on here. A mention of a cell phone being given is on here as well. So, guys, 20 pages, a lot of stuff in here. I mean, we're just kind of going through. Safety and permits is listed a lot, though. And we had an idea before coming into this that safety and permits was going to be in somehow connection to this, stemming back to his time working with the city and having those allegations and an investigation into him by one of the employees at the Office of Inspector General earlier on. In fact, he had mentioned in emails to city employees saying that he felt like he was being targeted during that time frame and said that you can ask Mayor Cantrell about it and stuff like that, mentioning those kind of conversations and the fact that he had close ties with the mayor. So, we kind of expected a little bit of this, but this is even more than what we were.
Yeah, there's also some sections where it kind of lays out the counts as well. So right here, there's a total of, it appears to be on 21 counts there, where it details everything from permit application payments, final inspection emails, vacancy repair inspection emails. It says the offenses on the dates listed below, Randy Farrell, and for the purpose of executing and attempting to execute the scheme and defraud and to obtain money, funds, and property by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises, did knowingly transmit and cause to be transmitted in interstate commerce, certain writings, signs, signals, and sounds by means of wire communication, namely payments for fraudulent permits and email communications regarding fraudulent inspections listed below.
Yeah, we have a whole collection. I mean, it looks like, so we have Claiborne Avenue, we have Robertson Street,
St. Roch, Brooklet Avenue, and then there's also for count 22, conspiracy to commit honest services fraud. The allegations contained in count 1 are alleged and incorporated and fully said from a date unknown, but at least as early as 2018 and continuing through at least on or about September 20th in the Eastern District.
And the big thing here is the fact that a possible to, get kickbacks from a situation like this. And that's what's being mentioned in multiple pages on here of the possibility of trying to get great things to come from something to help someone out situation.
In count 23, Cassie, as we are going through it, in the paperwork it says, quote, the scheme from a date unknown. And again, we are going through these live on air as we speak. It says from a date unknown, but as early as 2018 and continuing through at least on or about September 30th, 2023, the defendant, Randy Farrell, devised and intended to devise a scheme to deprive the citizens of the city of New Orleans of the intangible right to honest services through soliciting and accepting bribes and kickbacks. That is soliciting and accepting bribes and kickbacks to apply for fraudulent permits and to cause the submission of fraudulent inspection reports, despite knowing that the work was not performed by the licensed electrician and for the purpose of executing the scheme, and to knowingly transmit and cause to be transmitted by means of wire communication and interstate commerce, certain writings, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds.
And that's under the honest service fraud, too. So that's the big part there.
And it really continues. So we're on counts 24 to 25, honest services fraud. It says in that section, that was from 2018 to 2023. They say he devised and intended to devise a scheme, again, to deprive the city of honest rights and offering payment for bribes and kickbacks. So, again, we are going through this live on air. In one section, it kind of gives additional details.
About the football tickets.
Yes, it says purchase of New Orleans Saints football tickets costing about $1,100 from Farrell's Chase account for public official number 2. So, again, we don't know exactly what public official. They're not naming them specifically. It also mentions in 2020, purchase of college football national championship tickets costing $3,600 from Farrell's Chase account for public official 2. And it also says notice of forfeiture. The allegations of counts 1 to 25 of this indictment are incorporated by reference and set fully with the U.S. And as a result of the offenses alleged in counts 1 to 25, for the defendant, and counts 1 to 22, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant in that section. These are just kind of some legal portions, but it says any property, real or personal, which constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the offenses.
And, you know, while you keep on looking through these documents, one thing to note that when I was speaking with the former federal prosecutor, Matt Chester, he was mentioning that, you know, this takes a long time to get all of this together, Travers. And so, I mean, actually 26 pages total.
26 total, yes.
And I mean, we have all these charges here. So we're going to continue to keep on looking at these, Travers. And if you have any other questions or, you know, we're going to get you guys up to date with the latest as soon as we get more information.
Yeah, Cassie, Aubrey, great job. We're going to go through these documents and have the very latest coming up at 4, 5, and 6. Karen Carvin, don't go far because we're going to have more with you online and in our later newscast. Obviously, public officials 1 and 2, we don't know who they are, but they're public officials. And we're going to dig deeper into this. We're going to have much more with you coming up online and at 4, 5, and 6. You can get the very latest on WDSU.com on this breaking story.